you came to Greenwich High School, you didn't know soul.
Right.
And unfortunately, the first people you met were like a bad crowd.
Mm-hmm.
And it took me a while to figure that out.
Right.
But you started dressing different. I think you called it, I don't know, goth or something.
It wasn't goth, but it was the 90s rave scene, which had its own style.
Gigantic, billowing
It was a crazy time for fashion. I will agree with that.
And then you would come to me and you'd say, can I go to a rave? And I said, what's a rave? And you told me that it was kind of like going to a concert or going to a dance where there was live music. And I thought, well, I went to dances when I was a teenager with live music. We didn't do anything bad. So I said, okay.
Sure.
I had no idea what I was saying okay to.
Yeah.
And, you know, I caught you sneaking out sometimes. But to be honest, I snuck out sometimes as a teenager, and I didn't get arrested or anything. I didn't do anything horrible.
Right.
I don't even know to this day that my mom ever found out. I did find out a few times.
Yeah.
And then finally, I got a call from the police. And they came and they sat down with me in the house. I don't even know if you know this. And they said, we need to warn you that your daughter is being seen around town in some bad places with some bad people. And I said, well, you know, I think she smokes pot and drinks a little. And they said, whoa, no. We're telling you that the people she's with, the company she's keeping, are into bad things. Right. And so I would come to you, but you were so good at talking that you would talk me out of it. You would convince me that they were wrong. You've had a spell of anorexia and I think bulimia. Mm-hmm. And I remember I went to your summer camp, and to pick you up and bring you back. I left without you because you talked me into believing that you really weren't having that problem. So part of your demise was your fantastic ability to lie.
And by the way, that is what so many addicts, what happens to them is they're smart. Most of the people I got sober with are not stupid people. They're smart people, and your subconscious will do anything to protect your addiction.
Yeah.
And you can talk yourself into protecting that piece that feels like you have to guard it. What's interesting is that I didn't know at that time that those people were so bad. To me, they were just these cool older guys. And yeah, they sold drugs and we were all going to raves and people did drugs, but I didn't know that I didn't know that they were particularly bad people. When you're 15 and you're hanging out with 18-year-old guys that you look up to with you're kind of like swooning, you don't think, well, maybe they're up to something really nefarious. Like it never, when I talked you into it, it's because I really thought they probably were good people. I was on another planet of like hippiedom where we were all just living in this utopian society.
I thought it was going to change when you went off to NYU. But it was living in New York City. It wasn't exactly living on a college campus somewhere. And so by that time, I think maybe, I don't really know that the drugs kind of, had the better of you.
Yeah.
And as you got out of college and you started working, several times you and I were supposed to get together to do an interview with a magazine. And I'm waiting and you don't show up, and I'm calling your house, your apartment. You had moved out of a big, beautiful building into a little walk-up to save money. Mm-hmm. As I look back, I think, gosh, I shouldn't have let her do that. But when your daughter is in her 20s, you don't always have that ability to tell her she can't make a move. And finally, I just couldn't get a hold of you, and I was getting more and more worried about you. It was the middle of winter. It was snowing out. It was freezing. It was blowing. And I got in my car and I drove into New York City, and I went to your apartment building, which was like, it's this little door above a restaurant, and it was a walk up, and I didn't have a key, and I kept ringing your bell and ringing your bell. You didn't answer. Finally, somebody came along that lived in the building and opened that door. I went up to that first landing. I was banging on your door. I don't know, 5-10 minutes. Finally, you opened it, and you were like, what? And I said, get some shoes on, get a coat on. You might have been in your pajamas, I don't know. And I made you put some snow boots on, and I made you put a coat on. And meanwhile, I had called our family doctor, and he had found me a doctor who was an interventionist. And I said, I'm going to go get her. I'm going to find her, and I'm going to get her. He said, I will be in my office. And I took you to that office. And he had already made calls and found where he thought you should go. And we sat there and said to you, you're going to go away. You have to go into rehab.